I woke up in the sand, not on a towel, not under the stars, just face down, half buried. My mouth was full of grit. My clothes weren't mine. My phone, keys, wallet, gone. The only thing I recognized were my shoes, but even those were soaking wet, no laces. That was the 4th of July. I almost disappeared forever. My name's Tyler. Last summer I was invited to what was supposed to be the best 4th of July party on the Jersey Shore. My best friend since 3rd grade, Mike, worked with a promotions group that booked top-tier DJs and rented out entire clubs. Think overpriced drinks, private beach access, and a line down the boardwalk just to get in. Mike invited me and our mutual friend Connor to go early and help with setup. That turned into us drinking heavily way before the first guest showed up. They let us raid the open bar since we were staff, which was a dangerous green light. By the time the music started pulsing through the floor, Connor and I were well beyond tipsy. The kind of drunk where you lose your filter, where every decision seems like a great idea, even if it's the worst one of your life. Hours passed, the night blurred. That's when we saw them, 2 girls who looked like they didn't belong there, not in a bad way, just different. Like models who had slipped out of a magazine and wandered into the club by mistake. One was tall, olive skin with piercing green eyes and a tight black dress. She said her name was Lara. The other, smaller, dark hair, softer voice, called herself Drea. They came to us, bought us drinks. That never happens. We were skeptical at first, but everything about them felt rich. Designer heels, jewelry that probably cost more than my car, confidence you only get from having options. They told us we looked fun, and Lara said, "You should come back with us. We're staying in a beach house up the shore." It sounded insane, but in Tico's moment, it felt like a once-in-a-lifetime offer. Before we left, they handed us 2 more drinks. Lara smiled and said, "This'll level you out." It tasted like tequila and orange juice, but something about the bitterness clung to the back of my throat. That's the last clear thing I remember. We exited the club and walked along the boardwalk. I remember the way Lara held my hand, tight, like I was being led, not accompanied. Drea and Connor were behind us, giggling. I asked Lara if we were almost there. She laughed and said, "You'll see." My legs started feeling strange, weak, not drunk, not even dizzy. Just heavy, like they didn't belong to me. My skin got cold. I remember blinking and suddenly we were at the beach house, not walking up to it, just there. The house was massive, 3 stories, modern glass everywhere, spotless. It looked like a movie set, but something was off. The lights were all on, but no noise, no TV, no music, no echo of laughter, just us. Inside, I remember the white floors. They were almost too clean. The walls had these strange paintings, abstract stuff that made me feel watched. And then, nothing. No more memory. No time. I woke up with the sun stabbing through my eyelids, lying in a pile of bushes behind a gas station I'd never seen before. I was wearing an oversized hoodie, unfamiliar jeans, my feet soaked and shoeless. When I stood up, I realized I wasn't alone. Connor was slumped against the other side of the building, same dazed expression, same random clothes, and when I tried to ask him what happened, he looked at me and said, "I don't know. I don't even remember getting here." We hadn't been mugged. Our phones were later found, untouched, lying neatly beside each other in an abandoned parking lot. But our wallets were gone, not used, just missing. The police barely listened, said we'd had too much to drink, that we were lucky to be alive. But when I told them Lara's name and Drea's, they checked. There was no record of anyone by those names owning property anywhere on the Jersey Shore. Mike swore up and down we left with 2 girls who didn't match the invite list. No one else remembered seeing them. We went back to the house 2 days later. It was empty, for sale. The realtor said it had been vacant for weeks. I don't know what happened to us. I don't know what they gave us, but I haven't touched a drink since. And every 4th of July, I sleep with the lights on, because somewhere those girls might be watching, looking for their next guests. Ariel had no idea that the long drive home would turn into a nightmare. It had started off innocent enough, a backyard cookout in a quiet Alabama town, fireworks echoing in the distance, kids running with sparklers, and the smell of grilled food lingering in the summer air. Ariel left around 10 p.m., her belly full, her heart light. She hugged her college friend Isabel goodbye and pulled onto the quiet two-lane highway surrounded by nothing but trees and fields. The first 30 minutes were peaceful. Music played low on the speakers, just loud enough to keep her company as she cruised through the winding dark. But something about the silence of the woods on either side made her stomach tighten. It wasn't fear exactly, just that unsettling quiet that comes when you're the only car on the road for miles. Then, a pair of headlights appeared in her rearview mirror. She barely noticed them at first. It was just a grey Nissan Altima, keeping pace behind her. Nothing strange about that, until she realized it wasn't passing. No matter how she adjusted her speed, the car matched her exactly. 5 miles over the limit, it kept up. 10 miles under, it slowed too. She moved to the right slightly, making it obvious she was giving the car space to pass. It didn't. It just stayed behind her. Ariel's fingers tightened around the wheel. Her chest started to rise and fall a little faster. Something wasn't right. She glanced into the mirror again. The Altima's headlights stared back like eyes, fixed and unblinking. She made a quick decision. Up ahead was a random turnoff, a narrow residential road with a few scattered houses half hidden behind thick brush. Without signaling, she made the turn, and 10 seconds later, the Altima followed. That's when her stomach dropped. There was no way this was a coincidence. Ariel wasn't even on a main road anymore. Whoever was in that car was following her, deliberately, and she was alone, isolated. No one knew where she was. Not even Isabel. Her phone had only 10% battery left, and to make things worse, the gas light blinked on. The dread was real now, a cold kind of fear. Her old Corolla's fuel gauge hovered near empty. She didn't know if it meant 10 miles or 3. Her hands were slick with sweat as she fumbled to open her GPS. The nearest gas station? 8 miles. Maybe, a gamble, but she had no choice. Stopping on the side of the road wasn't an option. Not with that car still tailing her like a shadow. She kept going, heart pounding, praying to any god listening. When the glow of the gas station appeared in the distance, she almost cried. Without thinking, she jerked the wheel and flew into the lot, tires screeching. She threw the car in park, jumped out, and sprinted into the convenience store. The clerk looked up, startled. From the glass window, she watched. The Altima slowed at the edge of the lot, and just stopped. The engine idled for a few long, terrifying seconds. No one got out. It was like they were watching, deciding. Ariel stood frozen, unable to breathe. Then, as suddenly as it had arrived, the car peeled off and vanished into the darkness. The clerk called the police. She gave her report, still trembling, but the officers who arrived didn't seem impressed. They didn't even write much down. They told her it was probably a drunk driver, or maybe someone who didn't realize they were making her uncomfortable. No crime, no real danger. She just needed to get some rest. Ariel went home that night shaken, heart still racing, and barely slept. She wanted to believe it was over. But a few weeks later, everything changed. She was watching the evening news when the segment came on. 2 men, suspected of armed robbery and attempted kidnapping, dangerous, fled in a stolen grey Nissan Altima, the last seen in the same rural Alabama area. The mugshot was blurry, the details were vague, but Ariel knew, she knew in her bones that it was the same car, the same people, and she realized just how close she had come to disappearing forever on that long, empty road. They always say you remember your first real brush with fear. For Kevin, it happened on the 4th of July in 2009, in a rented cabin just outside Prescott, Arizona. He was 17 then, and his uncle had booked the place for a family getaway. It was a rustic, 2-story wooden house nestled in pine trees, far from town, the kind of spot meant for bonfires, laughter, and fireworks. That first night was perfect. His cousins set off sparklers near the porch. The adults grilled burgers, music played softly from a Bluetooth speaker, and the scent of smoke and summer hung in the air. Kevin spent hours laying on a hammock, staring up at the stars. He remembers thinking, this is what peace feels like. He had no idea what was waiting upstairs. The attic door was in the hallway across from his room. It wasn't a creepy door, Not at first. Just a square panel with a pull string. Kevin only noticed it because around 1 a.m. he heard a soft thud from above his ceiling, then a dragging sound, then nothing. He figured it was just the house settling, or maybe a raccoon on the roof. But the next night he heard it again, only louder. This time he stood in the hallway staring up at the attic hatch. The sound returned, faint creaking, like someone crawling slowly above the ceiling. He leaned in, heart racing, and held his breath. A soft knock came from inside the attic door. He ran back to his room, slammed the door, and locked it. The rest of the night, he laid in bed, wide awake, staring at the ceiling, listening. Nothing else came. He told his uncle the next morning, but his uncle laughed it off. Animals, maybe even a squirrel or something. It's the woods, Kev. Kevin didn't press it, but he couldn't shake that knock. It had felt intentional. On the third night, things escalated. The fireworks started around 8 p.m. They set off Roman candles and bottle rockets in the clearing. Behind the house, everyone was having fun. Kevin tried to enjoy it. He really did. But every few minutes he found himself glancing up at the attic window on the second floor. Then, right as the finale of fireworks lit up the sky, Kevin saw something in that attic window. Just for a second. A silhouette. Thin, tall, still. No one else saw it. He told his older cousin Mike, who shrugged it off. "You're seeing shadows, man. You're psyching yourself out." But Kevin wasn't convinced. When everyone went to bed, he stayed awake, waiting, watching. At exactly 2:03 a.m., the attic door creaked. It opened. Kevin stared at the hallway from his cracked bedroom door. He saw the thin string hanging down, swaying. He didn't hear footsteps, but he felt something was out there, in the darkness, just beyond the reach of the hallway nightlight. He sat frozen, too afraid to move. Then he saw it. Fingers. Long, bony fingers curling down from the attic entrance, gripping the edge like a spider on a ceiling. One by one they stretched downward. Kevin slammed his door and screamed. Everyone came running. But when they checked, the attic was empty, dusty, cobwebbed. Nothing out of place. Only Kevin had seen it. The family tried to laugh it off. Maybe he was sleep-deprived. Maybe his imagination had gotten the best of him. But Kevin never stayed another night in that cabin. The next morning he asked his parents to drive him home early. He didn't explain. He couldn't. Years later, that cabin was sold. Last Kevin heard, a different family had moved in, but a few months after, someone found a police report online. The new owners had reported multiple break-ins, no signs of forced entry, just things missing. Items vanishing from bedrooms while the family slept. They also complained of strange noises from the attic. Kevin never went back. He still dreams about that hand and Eve. By 4th of July, no matter where he is, he avoids fireworks and attics. If that story gave you chills, good. The real horrors don't knock. They slip in unseen, hiding in plain sight. If you're ready for more true horror stories that blur the line between nightmare and reality, hit subscribe. Drop a comment if you've ever felt something you couldn't explain, or witnessed the darkness yourself. Because here, the truth isn't just stranger than fiction. It's darker,